Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
It's that time of year again. Kids are back to school, which means all of the little viruses will be flaring up. This is always that time of year where kids start to come down with more frequent colds. And of course, we're still dealing with COVID. So this is kind of one of those touchy subjects when it comes to what should you be doing in that preparation phase of going back into school. But it's not just limited to kids. There's many people who maybe have been working remotely and now you're doing a return to work, going back to the office environment. So many times people want to know, what should I be doing when it comes to supporting my immune system to make sure that I'm taking the right nutrients, that I'm doing the right things each and every single day. So I want to highlight a couple of different options for you when it comes to those return to school and work supplements. So I am Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, and let's get right to it. Let's talk about the start of the school year. I know down here in Florida, kids just started going back to school today. And for many parents, they have those concerns like, should my kid be taking a multivitamin? Should they be taking vitamin D? These are all really good questions to be asking of yourself. And the straight answer is, yeah, but these are things that you should be doing every day regardless. But in particular, since we know that we are going to have more frequent interactions with people, then yes, we can look at taking in different nutrients that can really help to support and bolster up our immune system defenses. So we can look at something like the MultiEnergy Powder, which is a complete multivitamin, multi-mineral formulation that can easily be incorporated into school-age children's daily routine, as well as for college students. And we can even look at just everyday people who are off to work. And why is this? Because it's packed with all of these powerful antioxidants. So how much should someone be taking? Well, for an adult, a full scoop. Now, if we're dealing with someone who's younger in age, maybe a half a scoop of the MultiEnergy Powder would be advantageous. Now, this is one component to our spectrum of immune system health. We also want to always consider laying down good healthy bacteria, because remember, it's that microbiome that really helps to enhance the proper absorption of the vitamins and minerals that we're taking in, not only from supplementation, but also from the foods that we're taking in. So looking at something such as Probiotic HX. So we are going to include a probiotic, we're going to include a multivitamin, so the MultiEnergy Powder, and we're also going to look at how our gut cells have rapid turnover. So we want to make sure that we're enhancing this. And one way that we can really target this is through the inside of the cell. It's the motherboard, one would say. And this is going to be through the genetic material. So we're going to include nucleotide complex into our back to school, back to work routine. The nucleotide complex is actually the RNA. When we think about ribonucleic acid or deoxyribonucleic acid, this is what makes up the cellular messaging. So I always say it's the motherboard, because without those key base pairs, the cell cannot function because it doesn't have the kind of the password that it needs. It's like you're locked out of your computer, and we don't want to lock our immune system out from keeping us healthy. So by having those nucleotides on board, this along with that probiotic, so we're going to lay down good healthy bacteria, and then we're going to flood our system with those good vitamins and minerals. So this is a really good 1, 2, 3 punch for that getting back to normal, going back to school, going back to the office. I always tell folks, being down here in Florida, if you're going to be going on a cruise, and this is, pre-COVID, was if there's 2 things that you remember to bring, when you're packing for your cruise, it's probiotic and nucleotides. And there's a reason for that because, like I said, we want to make sure that we are bolstering up our immune defenses. And we know that nucleotide complex is very important. And this is a very unique supplement, by the way, because when we think about the internal components of a cell, it's kind of like, say, if you were breaking apart your computer and you were trying to analyze, okay, what does this do? What does this do? We all know what the keyboard does. But if we were looking at the internal components of a computer and say things went haywire, then the computer itself is not going to work. That's what happens when we don't have the proper base pairing. And so this is why taking nucleotides, that is going to allow for those nucleic acids to prime the immune system so that those immune cells have the capability to function the way that we need it to in the face of any type of adversity, such as a virus, such as a bacteria. And this is why the nucleotide complex is so incredibly beneficial when we think about exposing our bodies and our immune system to things that maybe we haven't seen in a while. So this is why when a lot of times kids go back to school, they come home with colds. And that is because their immune system are not used to that. So this nucleotide complex helps to prime the immune system. And then we have the good, healthy bacteria that really help to optimize the intestinal microbial environment. And then we have our multivitamin. Now we can add many other things to this, but this is just kind of the basics when it comes to going back to work or going to school and trying your best to support the immune system in doing this. Now we can look at things like vitamin D. Should you be taking additional vitamin D? I always say multivitamins, vitamin D, they should be part of your daily routine anyway. So my straight answer on that is always yes. Vitamin D should be something that you're taking on an everyday basis. Now, the amount that you take will vary depending upon your blood levels. So if you happen to not know what your blood serum levels are, you'd probably want to be taking somewhere in the range of 1,000 to 3,000 international units per day, just as a rough estimate to try and maintain healthy serum levels. But remember, there's a lot of different factors that can impact your current vitamin D status. So getting a blood test, always the best way to determine how much you should be supplementing with. So I just want to kind of go over and do this brief intro as to what you can be doing to ready yourself for back to school. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have grandkids, maybe you're going off to college, or maybe you are heading back to the office and you want to do everything in your power to support your immune defenses. So those are 3 little tips: MultiEnergy Powder, a scoop a day, mixed in with about 6 to 8 ounces of water. We add in the nucleotide complex, 1 capsule per day, and then we include in that probiotic HX, 1 capsule in the evening. You can take it after dinner. Really allows for those bacteria to lay down into the intestines as we start to wind down in our evenings. That is all that I have for you for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Invite Health Podcast. Remember, you can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Do make sure that you subscribe and you leave us a review. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health Podcast.